Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in. This is my first ever FAQ Friday, and these are going to be a little different every month. It depends on what kind of things I can think about that I get asked a lot. And this week it's only going to be, sometimes it's going to be a couple questions, sometimes like this week it's going to be only one question because I'm going to go a little more in depth. Let me know what you guys want to know about or questions do you have for me. I know people kind of want to know about how I got my start with wigs and how I started working on Broadway and all of those things. And I was going to talk about that today, but I figured that my topic for today would kind of help next month if I'd cover this month, if that makes any sense. So today's topic is resumes. Ta-da! This I've been getting asked a lot, more so in person. My friend Brenda, hey girl, shout out to you. Mwah. She wants to get more into the theatrical, film, television world of makeup. She's currently at Sephora. She's an artist at Sephora. She's done a couple little theater things here and there, and she's a very sweet girl. She's very talented. And I already did help her. I kind of sent her my resume and showed her some tips and tricks and stuff. And I figured that this would be a good idea to do for a video. So thank you, Brenda. You gave me the little twinkle in my head to make this video, so I figured I'd go ahead and do it. This is going to be talking mainly about theatrical resumes. As you can see here, I have a work resume, and then I have like a design resume. But my work resume does apply to pretty much any industry with my format. And this, my design resume, is also the same format that I used to use on my acting resume back when I still wasted my time with that. So this is my design resume here. Okay, so as you see here, I have my name, Bobby Clifton Zlotnick, up at the top, my full name. I have that I'm in the IATSE Local 798. I have that I'm a New York licensed cosmetologist. The next line that's blacked out are just my phone numbers. I'm not putting that crap on YouTube. I don't need crazy people stalking me and calling me. This is my personal email that's blacked out here. I don't need people emailing me my personal email account either. Sorry. And then this is my design website, bobbycliftonzlotnick.com. And if you are a member of a union, if you are IATSE at all, like if you're a stagehand, a hairdresser, or anything, or if you're an actor in your EMC, or if you're in equity, SAG, AFTRA, anything like that, that would go at the top with your contact information. I've seen people put their address on resumes. You really shouldn't do that in case this ends up in the trash somewhere. You don't want people like knowing where you live. Next, underneath that, I have education. So I have the Aveda Institute, Cosmetology Science. I graduated in March 2010, and that's in New York, New York. I then have Point Park University, BA in Theater Arts, May 2019, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So you want to make sure that you say where you went to school, if you have any degree at all, or if you have any licensing. So because I'm licensed in the state of New York, I put that I went to beauty school. So if you went to beauty school, put that there. If you went to a technical college, certification in pretty much anything that you went to school for, that should go here. If you're a nail tech, if you're a makeup artist, anything, that would go here. And since I did go to college before I went to beauty school, I put my college education there as well. I like to put where I went to school and my skills first before you get to everything else on my resume, just so that it's a little easier for the eye. Now, if you'll notice, my design resume is the reverse, because when you're submitting for a design position, or this, like I said, this is also my acting resume setup, you want them to know what you've done first. And if you're applying for a job, you want them to know where you've trained first and what you can do first before what you've done. That's personally just my aesthetic with resumes and how I like them to look. Next, I have my skills. So I have 3 little things of skills, and I'll read them off to you guys. And these are the same skills that I have written on the bottom of my other resume as well. I have theatrical wig design, ventilating and wig making, thermal blow-dry styling, punctuality. I'm always ridiculously on time. At least I try to be. And if I'm late, I'm literally there 2 minutes before I have to be there if I'm late. If I have to be somewhere at 1 o'clock, I usually like to be there at 12:45. But to me, I'm late if I'm there at like 12:58. I'm weird. New York cosmetology license, wig styling and maintenance, hair cutting, great organizational skills. Not so much right now. IATSE Local 798, wig repairing, hair coloring, and proficient sewing skills. So those are the skills that pertain to my industry and what I do. I'm not going to put here that I do stupid impressions and voices. I'm not going to say here that I sing. I'm not going to say here that I do drag, because it doesn't matter on a business resume what you can do that doesn't matter to the business. So since I want to be a Broadway hairdresser, and I am a Broadway hairdresser, I put the stuff here under my special skills that let them know that I'm good and I'm on top of my game. I have my experience. So I actually updated my resume today, and I was finally able to get rid of everything that wasn't in New York on my resume, my professional resume, and that made me so excited. So everything on here now is Broadway or off-Broadway minus Juilliard, but you see Juilliard and you're like, oh, I know what Juilliard is. So I've kept that on there for now, but the next Broadway show I get, Juilliard will probably get bumped. So what I've done here is I just have 3 columns again. I have my experience, it says experience, and then I have the time that I was at those places. So like Cinderella, September 2013 till present. An example, I've seen people say like still there or currently working. You always want to put September 2000, whatever. You always want to put the date you start to present or current, because you don't want to make it too bulky. You want to have your resume nice and concise and small so that they can look at it and just be like, okay, he's still at Cinderella. Okay, he's still at Motown. Oh, look, Spider-Man closed in January. He's not going to be there anymore. Oh, look, Soul Doctor, that ran for a month. He was only there for a month. So that's what they want to look at. They don't want to try to read all of that stuff. You also I like to do it short ways, so I like to say September, October, and I like to use the shortened forms of the months versus the entire word just to save space. That's me personally. Then here I have the shows where I've worked. I then have underneath the show, so it says here Rodgers and Hammerstein, Cinderella, Broadway Theater, hair department, swing, and then it says my supervisor's name. And I always put the supervisor's name. They can look at my resume and be like, oh, he worked at this, that, the other theater. My friend was the supervisor. Look, there's her name. I'm going to give her a call and ask her about this Bobby kid. So then underneath that, I put what I did there. So, for example, Cinderella, covering 2 hairstylist tracks involving maintenance and care of ensemble and lead wigs. That's what I do. That's a very concise, short way of explaining what all I do at Cinderella. So there's other shows like, for example, Motown, responsible for washing, setting, and combing out wigs. I do day work there. That's what I do. I come in, I wash them, I reset them, I style them, I put them back on the shelf. That's what I do. But you don't want to sit there and say, arrive at theater in the morning, look at list, check list, wash wigs, roller set wigs, take lunch, comb out wig, put on shelf, hairspray to hell. You don't want to put all that stuff on your resume. You want to make it short, concise, wash, set, style, done. For Soul Doctor, I did haircuts. Scandalous, I did haircuts. Forbidden Broadway, I was actually the designer. So I have that I was the designer and the wig master. I constructed and did all the wigs, and then I also came in every week and fixed them up. So you just want to make it short, concise, and nice. This is the most important part of a resume that I have seen so many resumes that don't have this on it, and it leaves you guessing. You want to put the city and state where you are working. So as you can see, mine all says right here, New York, New York, because I've been lucky enough and blessed enough in my career the past couple years to basically have been able to fill up my resume entirely with New York. I used to have all those other theaters that I've worked for, and then as you add stuff in, you can bump off stuff off the bottom. Now, I like to keep my resume one page. I have seen so many resumes that are like 3 or 4 pages, lists every single bowel movement you've ever made, and honestly, that's not impressive to me. That's excessive. If I look at that and I'm looking at 4 pages of your resume and it just says like, handed a brush to Nick Arrojo on TV, handed a wig comb to Paul Huntley at the studio. Like, people don't want to know that. They just want to see where you worked, what you did, short, concise, keep it down to a page. Personally, that's all that whenever I get resumes, that's all I want to see is a page. I don't want to see a big long list of everything you've ever done. Keep it short, concise, put your most impressive things on the resume, and then also, like, if you want to say full list of shows available upon request, do something like that. Or personally on my website, if you go to my website, I have my entire resume listed there. Everything basically that I've done back to college, including all the shows I designed in college. And then I have all of my regional stuff, my Broadway, my off-Broadway, all of that stuff. I actually need to go and update that resume to coincide with this. So keep it down to a page, list who you worked for, list where it was, list what you did, but keep it short and concise. Okay, so next is my design resume, which is the same format as my actor resume. So I'll explain to you guys how to pop stuff like that in once I explain it. So here at the top you see I have Bobby Clifton Zlotnick, my name, that's my email, website, phone number, phone number. So that's all you need to put at the top of your resume. For my design resume, I have my IATSE stuff down here under special skills. I don't have it listed up here just because I didn't want it to look too bulky, but if you are Actors Equity, if you are AFTRA, if you're SAG, etc., you would want to put that right here under your name, just right here, just so that they can look and be like, oh, Bobby's in SAG and AFTRA. Cool, we can have him come in for a role. You know, that's what they want to see. They want to know if you're union first thing. So name and union status. If you're EMC, put equity membership candidate. Put that there. I'm EMC personally. I have 4 points. Probably not going to be getting my card from that anytime soon. But on my actor resume, I do have Bobby Clifton Zlotnick, equity membership candidate. So then what I have here, I have professional experience. So if you've done any tours, if you've done overhire work, if you've done Broadway, off-Broadway, if you've done a big regional theater, something like that, you want to put that under professional experience. So as you can see here, I again have, I have my shows, and then underneath, I have in smaller print my supervisors. Further down here, when it's stuff that wasn't Broadway or stuff that I was running for somebody else, I'll have the designer's name or the coordinator's name there. Then in the middle category here, I have what I did on the show. So if you're an actor, this is where you'll put the role. So you'll put the show here, and then you'll put the role. So for me, my role on Broadway pretty much has been as a hair department swing. So for me, I put hair department swing, and then I like to put how many tracks I know, especially because hair people on Broadway all pretty much know each other. We know of each other. We hear tell. We're hairdressers. We talk. It's in the business. So we all know about each other. I like to put how many tracks I learned just so that people can look at it and be like, okay, he didn't just learn one track. He knew multiple tracks on the show. If you're understudying or if you're a swing, you can put, you know, your role. So let's say like I was in Les Mis. I played Thénardier and I understudied Valjean. So I would put like Thénardier / Valjean understudy. And if I went on, if you go on for a role, you can put in parentheses next to it, performed. If you went on. If you didn't go on, don't put performed. Don't lie, because people will find out. Trust me. You can put over here the theater, the name of the theater, and the city where it is. So, you know, here I have all the Broadway theaters I've worked in, and then they all say New York, New York under them. If I did more than one show at the same theater, I don't put the city underneath the name again. So here you see Juilliard School, and then underneath that, Juilliard School is blank. So you'll see Algonquin Playhouse, but then under these Algonquin Playhouses, it's blank. That's just because you don't need to put Algonquin, Maine under every single thing, because you're still at the Algonquin Playhouse. They know that that's where you worked. But for my Broadway theaters, I do always put New York, New York underneath them. A lot of places around the country have theaters that have the same names, like such as the Schubert, such as the Gershwin. Like there's theaters all over the country, all over the world, that have the same name. So you always want to make sure that you put the name of the theater, even if it's obvious that it's a Broadway theater, you want to put the name of the theater and the town. So then under that, I have my select design experience. So I just have, here I have the shows that I designed. So here I have the show, the name of the show. I then put the directors. I used to put the director and the costume designer both, but that got a little too cluttered. So I just put the director. You always want to put the person that you as the designer are reporting to. Most of the time as the designer, you're reporting to the director. You're an actor, you always want to put the director's name underneath the show. A lot of times you'll sometimes have space for director and choreographer depending on it. It's really not necessary to put both, but if there's room, definitely do both, because sometimes they'll know the director but they won't know the choreographer, or vice versa. So if you put both, they're like, oh, I know Bob, he's a great guy, isn't he a good choreographer? And then you can answer in your audition, oh yes, I love him, he was my teacher in high school, da 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 da. So you always want to put it there so that they can strike up a conversation with you about it later. So select design experience, I have here what I did. So you'll notice that these are a little different. So some shows I was just the wig designer, some shows I was the wig and makeup designer, some shows I was the hair and wig designer. It all depends on what you did. If you just styled and made wigs for the show, and you put them on people's heads and you let them go, you're the wig designer. If you had to figure out the makeup and the wig looks, you're the wig and the makeup designer. If you had to do wigs, but then you also had to teach and or figure out how to do real, what in the industry we call it live hair, which is any hair that's naturally on a head. So this is live hair. So if I had to come to you every day and you had to blow my hair into a pompadour, or you had to flat iron it or something, then that is hair and wig design both. If there's no wigs in the show, but you designed the hair, you're the hair designer. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm in such a weird industry that's specific, so I feel like I kind of have to explain this, but hopefully you guys can apply this to your resumes as well. And then over here again, theater names, theater town, etc. Again, then I have my training, so I have Aveda and I have Point Park again, and then I have special skills, which are the exact same special skills that are on this resume. Like I said, I just copied and pasted them on the bottom. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something today on FAQ Friday about some resumes, a resume master or anything. But I've always gotten compliments on my resume. When I was an actor, I got compliments. Now that I'm a hair person, I get compliments on my resume a lot. So I figured I would do a little advice video just so you guys can make it short, concise, nice, and pretty. The more professional your resume looks, the more clean your resume looks, the more concise your resume looks, the higher chances are of you getting hired. If you send a 5-page resume that lists every single thing you've ever done, walking the dog in the morning, they're not going to take you seriously because you're listing everything. You don't know how to censor. You don't know how to cut stuff out that isn't important. But if you send a nice, professional, clean resume that's 1 page, concise, they're going to take you more seriously. They're going to know that you're a professional because you're turning in a professional piece of paper. So I know a lot of you out there are new to these things. You don't have a lot of experience. So if your resume is small, you don't have a lot of credits, then kind of space it out. Maybe explain a little more what you did. Maybe explain a little more in depth what you did, like if you had shopping duties, if you had any shop duties, if you had to clean up, if you had anything you had to do that was additional during the day or during your show. Put that stuff there. Fill it out. You want to make it look like you've done a lot of stuff. Even if you only have 4 or 5 credits, if you have 2 or 3 credits, you just want to make sure that you expand it out. You also want to put other experience that might come in handy to know. So before I had all my Broadway credits and my off-Broadway credits, I used to have, when I worked at Dry Bar, I had Dry Bar listed here. As I said, I do have a design and I do have a professional resume. I have 2 different ones. I also sometimes will go through and I'll move stuff around depending on where I'm sending a resume. If I know that I'm sending a resume to X, Y, and Z theater, and I know that, you know, one of my former coworkers or one of my former supervisors either works there or did work there, a lot of times I'll bump that credit up to the top, just so that when they open my resume, they see, oh, he worked with blah, blah, blah. Hey, blah, blah, blah. How's this Bobby guy? Is he good? Does he talk too much? Yes, I talk too much. So, yeah, I hope you guys learned a little something today about resumes. I hope you guys can get out there and make some nice, fun, concise, professional resumes. Also, a quick thing about paper. I usually just print mine out on white paper, but I do need to go and get some nice resume paper because I am going to have to send out some resumes again very shortly because Spider-Man is closing. So I'm going to have to go and drop off some resumes. So just get some nice, clean paper. You don't have to go with white. You can go with a nice light mint or a nice light pink maybe, purple, blue, you know. You don't want to go anything too crazy. You don't want to go bright. You want it to look almost white. Or you could do a cream, something like that. you don't want it to be too bright. So I think I might actually go and get some nice light, barely there green or blue, because I really like green and blue, as you can see from my apartment. So I might just do that. It all just kind of depends. You just kind of, what works for you and what's your character. You want them to look at your resume and you want them to know exactly who you are in the 2 minutes it takes them to read your resume. That's how you know you've done a great resume, is if they can tell who you are by your resume and by your credits. If you guys like this video, I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please tell me what future FAQ things you guys want to know. Send me some questions, put them in the box, email me, etc. And I hope to see you guys again next week for another Wiggy Weavy Wednesday and another Friday. Next Friday will be 5 Favorite Friday. It's going to be the first Friday of January, so it'll be my 5 Favorite Friday for December. So like, comment, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. I'll see you guys again next week. Thanks.